Am I really going to have to try to clickbait my audience into watching a third Red Eyes video in 13 days? So you guys remember this video? Of course you do, I literally just uploaded it. Well, it turns out Konami must have seen that video and thought, that shit sucks. Let's give it a buff, and they decided to release a brand new supporting card for it. And I'm not gonna lie, this support turned out to be way more impactful than I thought it would be. So here's today's deck list. Now just a reminder before I get into the deck list, if you guys are enjoying today's video and want to see more content just like this in the future, especially if you're a returning viewer, so apparently about 35% of you watching this or even subscribed to the channel, meaning 65% of you haven't even subscribed yet. So you guys are enjoying this kind of content, or seeing more deck lists from me in the future, or more videos from me in the future, remember to leave a like on this video and consider subscribing to the channel down below. Also, obviously, because the new box just came out, I still have a whole bunch of videos planned for the upcoming days, including Amazement, some witchcrafty sort of stuff, or just anything from the new box in general. So if you want to see any of that stuff, remember to leave a like, subscribe, and let's jump into this deck list. Alright, so this deck list in general, I don't really have much to talk about with this deck list in particular, obviously because I literally just did a Red Eyes video, like, not too long ago at all, and in that video it's basically the exact same deck list. So the only new addition to this deck is of course the brand new card, that of course being your Red Eyes Black Meteor Dragon. This card I initially thought was completely just not that relevant, but it turns out this card's effects are quite useful, as you'll see during the gameplay. So first of all, you can send one level 5 or higher normal monster from your hand or deck to the graveyard to special summon this card from your hand, then increase its level by 1. So obviously when you do this, you won't be able to use Red Eyes Fusion on the turn you use this, which is fine, because it turns out you can do some really cool Exceeds plays with this card if you happen to open another normal monster as well. So it is a 2-card combo, but if you happen to open it, it feels really goddamn nice. If you don't open it, you can generally just go down your standard Red Eyes Fusion plays and it doesn't really matter too much. Alright, the next part of the effect is during your main phase, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from the graveyard to add one Red Eyes Fusion from your deck or graveyard to your hand. Another effect that turns out to be a lot more useful than I anticipated, purely because the grind game with this deck list when you're playing sort of a 30 card list can feel a little bit bad when you're relying on top decks, which aren't that great when you've got so many cards in a deck list. With this, it guarantees your next turn is just going to be a Red Eyes Fusion. Even if you just used a Red Eyes Fusion on your first turn and didn't go for like any special summon to this thing or anything, you can just Fusion Summon out something like Comet Dragon, which will guaranteed put this thing in the graveyard, or you can activate a copy of Red Eyes Insight, put this thing in the graveyard. This is why we also cut Wyvern from the deck list, because no need to play Wyvern anymore when putting this thing in the graveyard is just significantly better. So now, activate this thing, put this thing in the graveyard, on the following turn you can now add another Red Eyes Fusion to your hand, and the grind game of this deck list got way better. Just a couple more nitpicks with this deck list, as I know I'll get plenty of questions in the comments asking about it if I don't talk about it now, and the first one is, why am I not playing Dark Hole anymore? Dark Hole in the current meta, or at least in the ladder meta, feels pretty bad. There's so many back row decks going around which Dark Hole isn't particularly good against. The whole advantage of Dark Hole in this deck is you would Dark Hole the field, they'd have nothing left, you'd summon this thing, they'd die instantly even through a Kiteroid. But when people are playing a shit ton of back row, it doesn't really work that way anymore. You're sort of Dark Holing and nothing really happened. It's better to sort of delay the turn with more back row. Also, there's plenty of cards in the game that are just immune to destruction, whether that be the Neos deck list or the Orcus players running around. So, didn't really feel the need to play Dark Hole, so I cut from the list and played a couple of Warning Points and a copy of my Bottomless, which I think I'd prefer to be another Warning Point, but I only own 2 of them. This also made the Lunar Light matchup a bit easier too, because you can activate this thing in response to some of their absolutely ridiculous boss monsters that are really hard to get through, and then you can hit them with things like Crackdown or your Borreload Furious Dragon because their effects are negated. The other question I might get is, why am I still playing a 30 card list, despite this deck being quite a bit less bricky than it felt before, because obviously some of the really bad fusion material cards have been replaced with a much better card. And the reason for that is, it still feels pretty bricky to not play it at 30 cards. There's just too many cards in here you don't want to draw multiple copies of. Opening 2 of this feels like shit. Opening any 2 of these normal monsters feels like shit. Opening a single summon skull feels awful. Opening this feels awful. All these cards, you just prefer to have most of them in the deck list and dilute the pool by having a bunch of trap cards, which are much better cards to open up. Especially considering this deck list, even if you don't open like an insane hand, your skill just fixes it anyway, so making sure we have a very decent hand most of the time just felt a lot better than this sort of trying to get the Xyz plays off more often, which you don't really care about too much anyway. They do look flashy and you'll see them plenty of times during the gameplay, but they're just not really that necessary. They just feel kind of flashy. And yeah, that's basically it for this deck list, so without further ado, let's jump into the gameplay. Also, obviously, I've included another brand new Xyz monster, or not brand new, but card I wasn't using before, because obviously you're going to be seeing some more Xyz plays, so let's jump into the gameplays. Alright, let's jump into these replays. Today I've got about 6 replays to share with you guys, and I think you guys are really going to enjoy them, because I had a decent grind with this deck list. I played for quite a while. I started around Platinum 4 and ended Legend 2 with the deck list, which was a decent amount of games played, so I tried to find some really banger replays to share with you guys. And yeah, I was really surprised by how well this brand new card works in this deck. I thought when I originally read the card, there was just going to be like a special summonable sort of beat stick that just replaces the garbage in the deck list, but it's actually a lot more than that. It really fixes this deck's grind game, especially considering you're playing a 30 card deck, so you can't really rely on top decks as much, because you're going to top deck into things you don't want. But anyway, let's get into it. So first of all, Summoner's Art, setting for my Red Eyes. Now I'm going to special summon out my Red Eyes Black Meteor Dragon. Alright, normal summoning, then using these 2 cards to go into an Xyz monster. So this is the new turn 1 play you can do with this deck list. You can't do this very often, as it specifically requires you to open a Red Eyes and the Red Eyes Black Meteor Dragon. It's the reason why I'm not building the deck list purely around this card in particular, because it's not really searchable, and you don't want to have to rely on getting a 2-card combo to just be able to play the game. So if you do open it, it feels pretty good, and you can do combos like this. But if you don't open it, just do the standard Red Eyes stuff you'll see in some of the other replays. Alright, attaching to special summon back to the Red Eyes. He's going to place a Vortex on it. I don't think he realizes this Vortex won't actually do anything unless I actually use this thing's effect. He should have equipped it to it before I used the effect. I was actually having this debate earlier on stream, actually. But he does book a moon to put this thing face down. That doesn't bother me whatsoever, because I can just activate my skill to grab this trap card, which can immediately be used on the turn you grabbed it, bring back one of the Red Eyes, and hit my opponent in the face. And if he didn't book a moon this card, that would have been 2 more monsters to go into a second Xyz monster. So that's just an example of the standard turn 1 you can do if you happen to open Red Eyes and the new card. Alright. It's actually pretty funny that interaction came out. So I was literally just talking about that on stream, whether or not that card needs to be activated before the monster uses its effect, or it can be used once it's used the effect and you chain to it. Turns out it was, yeah, the previous. You have to use it beforehand. Which is what I thought, but... Alright, Red Eyes Fusion, activating. Summoning out my Slash Dragon. Alright. Putting this card on the field. Sending a card and passing. Alright, activating the Fang with Chain. I'm not sure whether or not I should be using this preemptively. It's kind of weakened to Book a Moon, but to be fair, it's going to be weakened to Book a Moon anyway, unless I have a second Red Eyes to target with this, so it's probably worth using beforehand. And my opponent's playing Infernoid. Alright, summons a dude to pop one in the back row. I'm going to Slash Dragon, negate that. Summons another one, pops another back row. Before going into a Harpy Lady. Also has his other boss monster in hand. This guy opened a pretty decent hand versus this. Beats over it, but doesn't do enough damage to lethal by a little bit. Alright, so I Red Eyes Fusion. He has a negate for it, but thankfully it negates the activation, meaning, despite this thing being a once per turn, I could use another one. Summoning out the Comet Dragon. Comet Dragon going to be smacking him for a billion, and passing over. Alright, 1 for 1, getting his card, summoning out his dude from the deck. Oh, sorry, popping the card from... Changing the name so he can pop my card, which re-summons my Red Eyes. And then during my turn, because this card's in the graveyard, I can just activate it, just add back the Red Eyes Fusion from my graveyard or from my deck. And as soon as I activate, I think my opponent realizes it's fucking over. And that was an example of why this card makes this deck list so much better at grinding. As soon as you put one in the graveyard, whether that be from your Red Eyes Insight or be from a Red Eyes Fusion to go into your Comet Dragon, you're going to be pretty happy then. Pretty happy to, yeah, have follow-up. Alright. What have we got next? Bastion Mizawa. Alright, so starting off, he's playing another person playing Amazement. Alright, set in 3. So I'm going to start by Red Eyes Fusing, summoning out a copy of the Comet Dragon. Now the reason I went for Comet Dragon here is I wanted to try to stack my graveyard as much as possible with specifically Dark Dragons because I have Necro Fusion. That's why there was no summon of like a Slash Dragon or something. I just wanted to put as many Dark Dragons in grave as possible, which doing this puts 3 of them because Comet Dragon also puts another in there. Which is great because the Ice Dragon imprisoned me, so if I didn't do this, I wouldn't be able to use my Necro Fusion. But now I have 3 dragons in there, so I'm good for Necro Fusing on the following turn. Tries to swing in, Necro Fusion. Out comes my boy, the Borreload. He activates Horror House. I don't use the effect immediately, I wait for him to use the effect to flip it face down. That's just in case he has a second one. Because this is a once per turn effect. So, tries to flip it face down, I just pop both cards. Alright, Red Eyes Fusion on my turn. Summon out a copy of my Archfiend Black Skull Dragon. Unfortunately, he has another Book of Moon. Doesn't matter too much to me though, I chain this to resummon out a Red Eyes on the... Well, would resummon Red Eyes if I could, but Red Eyes Fusion prevents that. And now I can't use it during his turn either. I should have kept this thing face down. Alright, searches for his boss monster, activates a trap to summon out his boss monster. But I've got a Crackdown, so now it's my boss monster. Alright, Meteor Dragon, special summoning itself. Using his monster, I'm just flexing on him at this point. Did not need to do this. Making my own Metal Dragon using his level 7. Resummoning out a Red Eyes. Resummoning another Red Eyes, and my god, that's a field. Alright. On to our next contender. Alright, you can see these replays, by the way, getting progressively better in quality of games, because we started off such a low rank, and now we're getting higher and higher, so we're getting to the, slightly better games. Started off playing against some absolute jank, and now we're into the, these games getting better quality. Not that Amazement is necessarily an amazing archetype, we don't know that yet, but it might be. Alright. So starting off with a red, Metal Dragon. Reviving. Activating our skill, getting our continuous to revive again. And now we go into a copy of our quick play Exceed, our Doomrider. Because this has a dragon underneath it, it can pop our opponent's stuff. Alright, I'm up against Destiny Hero, no surprise with Mr. Aster up here. Get Book of Moon, but we at least pop his card for it. And by the way, since now we've done this, we have got a normal monster in the graveyard to resummon with Red Eyes Flame Metal if we ever feel like it. But of course, we've got Necro Fusion, so we're probably going to keep him in there. Alright. We've also got the Fang chain ready as well. Which we use as soon as he summons Dystopia. Nothing I was really surprised about with this deck, the few times I summoned this card, the burn damage actually really stacked up. There was even one particular game that I didn't save. There was against someone that was playing a pure burn deck, and he was just burning himself, just every time he tried to burn me. It was pretty funny. Didn't save that one though, because it wasn't exactly the highest quality gameplay playing against some dude playing a bunch of burn cards, but that was a pretty funny outcome, just watching him burn himself. Alright, Mr. Seto Kaiba. This guy's playing Blue Eyes. Again, not a shock. Alright. So he's going to go for a Red Eyes Fusion here. Not even going to activate the skill because we've already got 3 back row, so there's not really a whole lot of point. Again, we got Necro Fusion in hand, so we try to put as many Dark Dragons in graveyard as possible. It also means if I can manage to keep at least 1 in here, I could use it with, yeah, I could use this thing on the following turn to search for another Red Eyes Fusion. In this case, I don't even need to do that. You'll see why in a second. Alright, so just Chaos Max. This guy has got the Chaos Max possible. Alright, gonna steal his monster here before he pops my own card. I got something caught in my throat. Now my voice is gonna sound all weird for the rest of the video, nice. Alright, summons his monster, we're gonna Void Trapple, negating it of course, meaning he doesn't get the search for the spell card, so he can't summon out his big boss monster. Alright, Necro Fusion, going to be summoning out a copy of course, my Borreload Furious Dragon, so I don't take a bunch of damage for no reason. Making sure when I did the Necro Fusion to keep one copy of at least a standard Red Eyes in graveyard, so I could revive it right now. And because I haven't used the skill yet, I could have kept one of these guys in graveyard, so I could have guaranteed search for a Red Eyes Fusion on the following turn. But that doesn't matter, because I haven't used my skill yet this time, so I can actually just do it anyway with this guy on field. But normally you'd have to consider keeping one of these engraved rather than summoning this guy. Again, Red Eyes Fusion, he knows what's up, he's out of here. Alright. Have I still not changed my name from Stacy's mum? Oh my god. Anyway, I think that's the final replay, right? I think. And this is up against a Lunar Light, I believe. It's actually a pretty banger replay. This is the rank up to Legend 2. This replay was a bit of a banger. This matchup is hard, man. Because the main issue with this matchup is, we do not have an out to his big boss monster. We don't have a non-target destruction thing outside of just Void Trap Hole. So if you don't know who Void Trap Hole or Warning Point, this matchup is really annoying. I had another one which was super close, in which I just kept summoning just the standard Red Eyes. Ended up losing the game, but it was really close. Just didn't want to go into any fusion monsters because it would just cause him to be able to summon the big boss monster we can't out. Alright. So Kaleido Chick gonna be grabbing that Polymerization. Pretty weak turn 1, which is good. I think he let's go for a Saber Dancer as well. I think he might go for a Saber Dancer as well on turn 1. Oh no, he doesn't. He goes for an Evil Storm Nightmare. It's not the weakest of turn 1s. Normally they end on 2 Xyzes, but that's fine. Because I can just beat over it with a standard Red Eyes. I don't need to do any fusion summoning. Who needs that crap? Alright, he's now going to fusion summon into a Saber Dancer. Thankfully we have a couple of outs. We've got a Warning Point and we've got the Void Trap Hole. Of course, if we Warning Pointed it, we could then target to steal it. But instead, we're just going to pop it, let him summon out something else if he feels like it. Which he does. Summons out a copy of the Lunar Light Panther Dancer. I also forget here that I needed to use the Crackdown before battle phase if I wanted to keep this thing alive, because he had the, he banished one of these this turn, which stops me using things during the battle phase. But thankfully, even though I forgot, this thing can't kill me by itself, so it doesn't particularly matter. But I nearly screwed up there by forgetting that. But it's fine. Red Eyes Fusion, he's dead as hell. Archfiend Black Skull Dragon, activate my Crackdown, that's my monster now, and he's dead on field, even through a Chiroid. Alright, so that's going to do it for today's replays. Hope you guys enjoyed them. If you did, remember to leave a like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Again, remember, I have a whole bunch of videos planned still around the latest box. Some Dark Magician Witchcrafty sort of stuff. Some Amaze, whatever that deck's called, Amazement deck, I'll be trying that out. Plenty of other videos, so if you want to see those, remember to leave a like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Hope to see you in the next one. Laters.
Hey, big brother, can I watch SpongeBob? Shut up, Mokuba. I'm busy flagging YouTube videos to compensate for the fact that I have an extremely small penis. Oh.